morning's committee hearing. We have several items. Joined today by Council President Eric Garcetti, Ed Reyes, and I did see Ms. Perry earlier, so we have a quorum. We can begin. We have 11 items that, Mr. City Attorney, I think that we can move on consent, except for item 5, their requests from the public to speak on item 5, so we will hold that until we finish the other items. So with that said, Ms. Barclay, can you read items 1?
Yes, sir. Mike Barclay with the CLA's office. The clerk has also asked me to inform the public that translation services are available for this meeting. If they are needed, please see the clerk's representative up here in the front left-hand side of the room. Item 1 is a report from the mayor and the city administrative officer relative to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Economic Development Initiative special project grant for the Valley Plaza Shopping Center project.
Okay, then without objection, we'll adopt the CAO report on item 1. Item 2, please.
Item 2 is a report from the CAO relative to a second amendment to a contract with Urban Futures to provide occupancy monitoring services for affordable housing units.
Okay, then without objection, we'll adopt the CAO report on item 2. That brings us to item 3.
Item 3 is a report from the CRA relative to the status of the Community Enhancement Corporation's efforts to for the historic preservation, rehabilitation, and adaptive reuse of the Angelus Funeral Home.
Okay, then on item 3, we'll note and file the CRA report. Brings us to item 4.
Item 4 are reports from the CRA and the CAO and a resolution relative to cooperation agreement with the Department of Public Works to assist in the purchase, installation, and maintenance of publicly owned trees in various redevelopment project areas.
Okay, then item 4 will adopt the CAO report. That brings us to item 6.
Item 6 are reports from the CRA and the CAO and a resolution relative to various actions related to pre-development loan to be converted to construction and permanent loan with the Sherman Way Community Housing LP for the development of a 52-unit affordable housing project.
Okay, on item 6, we will adopt the CAO report on that. What I want to do with item 7, the council president would like to thank a few people on that on item 7. So what we'll do, we'll hold that, okay. And when we finish the rest of the items,
I can just say it right now if you want. Real quick.
Oh, okay. Well,
I just want to thank.
Wait. Let's let her read it. Okay. Let her make sure she earns her pay. Read then.
Item 7 is a report from the CRA and the CLA relative to a disposition and development agreement and ground lease with the Villas at Gower LP.
Okay. I just want to thank the folks in Hollywood. This was the first permanent supportive housing project to move forward initially in the city of Los Angeles to help homeless individuals permanently get off the street. It was initially quite contentious in Hollywood with a lot of fear and a lot of people saying we didn't want to have this, and by the end there's almost zero opposition to this, and it really speaks volumes of how we can overcome fear and do the right thing, and I want to thank everybody who worked very hard on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Reyes, did you want to?
Say good job.
No, thanks.
Okay. So on item 7, we'll adopt the CLA report, and we've now been joined by Council Member Cardenas. If we could read item 8.
Item 8 is a report from the CRA and resolution relative to various actions to amend the Mid-City and Wilshire Center Koreatown Recovery Redevelopment Project areas.
Okay, then on item 8, we'll adopt the CRA report. That brings us to item 9.
Item 9 are reports from the CRA and the CLA relative to the transfer of $100,000 Assembly Bill 1290 funds to the Department of Transportation for public improvements associated with the Gold Line light rail.
And without objection, we'll adopt the CLA report. That brings us to item 10.
Item 10 are reports from the Los Angeles Housing Department and the CAO and a resolution relative to the issuance of $16.5 million in tax-exempt multifamily housing revenue bonds for the Bonnie Brae Village Apartments project.
Okay, item 10 will adopt the CAO report. Item 11.
Item 11 are reports from the Community Development Department and the CAO relative to various actions concerning the continued operations of the Harbor City Day Laborer Program.
Okay, on item 11, we will adopt the CAO report. So again, without objection, all of the items that we just dealt with will be deemed approved. That brings us to item 5, I have several cards from the public on item 5. Mr. City Clerk, what we'll do on item 5, it'll be a 1-minute testimony. If you could read item 5.
Item 5 are reports from the CRA and the CAO and a resolution relative to an amended and restated disposition and development agreement with Slauson Central LLC for the development of the Slauson Central Retail Center. The CRA has also asked me to indicate that they've provided the environmental documents associated with this item today in committee. The CAO report would need to be amended to include these.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember, pardon me, for item 5, I would like to note for the record that this morning we have received a CAO report that does reflect a general fund impact.
Okay, the first speaker is Armin Gabay. Armin, good morning.
Good morning. Mr. Chairman, members of the
Sit down, huh?
committee, thank you for giving us the opportunity of being before you. Well, giving it a very brief history of this project, there's a committee group that's been trying to do this project since 1990. They've had it in escrow 3 times. Once with us, twice with the previous owners. We bought the property, we felt we're a stakeholder. And basically said, don't you dare do this project. We said, great, we'll sell it to you. Come and buy it. They open escrow, 90 days later they come in and say, well, it's a lot less value for us if we get it from LACRA. So we went to LACRA and said, guys, buy us out. We made an investment. We want out of our investment. They basically said, we'll buy you out in 3 to 6 months. We waited 3 months, 6 months. 2 years, 3 years. Said, listen, you know, guys, we can do this project on our own. We filed for entitlement. The city issued for the entitlement. A very, very similar project.
You had to wrap it up.
I'm sorry. We're not asking for any subsidy. We can give you the same public benefits. Here you are, giving this project to someone in approximately $30 million in public subsidy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Liz Chavez, and I think Leroy Gertman would be next. So it's Liz Chavez. Please come forward.
Good morning. I just have a quick statement to read. How is it that the city chooses to invest in an organization that has failed to show profit in its endeavors since 2002? In 2002, it lost $147,000. In 2003, it lost $141,000. In 2004, it lost $227,000, and in 2005, it lost $12,000. 2006, it lost $594,000. And we have no idea in how bad of shape they are for 2007 and 2008. From the speed that this deal is moving through the bureaucracy, they must be in a terrible financial shape. We ask you to oppose the gift of public money to bail out concerned citizens and put the money to better use, like urban farms. I have the 1990s documents for the concerned citizens of South Central for the record. So.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Leroy Gertman. And after Leroy, I think it's Alberto. Gosh, I'm so sorry. I can't pronounce the last name. I'll get it, though. I need help, Andrew. Good morning, sir.
Morning. I'm speaking for Mr. Stanley Kramer, the owner of Stanley Kramer Metal, and I want the committee to understand that Mr. Kramer is a well-known man in the community, and he is a man that help people in the community, and he have employees that he constantly let them work. When the business gets slow, he don't lay anybody off. And another thing is that he's a man that is known in the neighborhood. And the best thing about it, he's a man who invests in the neighborhood. He don't make his money and run off and take it to other community. He works there. People know him. He helps people in that neighborhood, and he invests in that neighborhood. He's well known in that neighborhood, and when people need things, they can come by and he'll help the people in that neighborhood. And I think it'd be very nice if the committee would consider Mr. Stanley Kramer in that neighborhood, because I think very much that he's a well-known man and he's considered in that neighborhood. And
Thank you. Finish your sentence. Thank you. Alberto Latoa. It's been a while. You look familiar.
Good morning.
Good morning,
My name is Alberto Clatoa, and I would just like to request that Jan Perry be excluded from this voting because from the voting on the issue, since Juanita Zaid has publicly stated in the documentary The Garden by Scott Calmerton that she was on the spot, that she got a lot of her funding, got into office because Juanita Zaid offered a lot of funding through her, and she basically worked towards getting her in office. So from these donations made by the city, it seems clear that there is a very direct conflict of interest between concerned citizens of South Central and Jan Perry. And in particular, several millions of dollars have been subsidized already given over a period of 8 years. So I think that it's very important that we really think about this issue because it's not about choosing politically favorite groups in our community. We strongly feel that there was a lot of community input and a lot of communities were not even involved in this project or even asked about this project or when it was coming about. So I think that it's really important that you guys really consider this because, I mean, these agents, concerned citizens of South Central have already been investigated for, other projects. So I think that you should really consider, and Jan Perry, you should even vote on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Clifton Johnson. Is that me? Good morning, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, good morning. I'm speaking on behalf of Mr. Stanley Kramer. As to piggyback on what Mr. Gertman said, he's a well-known man in the facility, in the community, and he's has helped provide jobs and give, employment to his workers. And no matter what happens, no matter how bad the economy gets, he never sends us home. He always is there for us to provide for our families, to put food on the table. And he's been in the community for so long, and he's well-known man there, and he contributes to all the fundraising, all the young people, everything that goes on in the community. He is always there for the younger people to, even their fundraisers. He contributes to the fundraisers. He's been there for years and years, and everybody knows him well, and he's just a well-known man in the community. And I think he should have an equal, fair chance in developing the property there that he has redeemed for so many years, and he's well-known in the community there, and I think he should have an equal share of building, developing the property that's there that he has there.
Thank you for coming down, Mr. Johnson. Manuel Valdez. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Can I speak in Spanish?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Yo vengo a hablar a favor del señor Kramer, que es mi patrón, Stanley Kramer. Él es un hombre justo, ha ayudado mucho a la comunidad. Nos está.
Good morning, my name is Manuel Valdez. I'm here to talk on behalf of my boss, Stanley Kramer. He's a very fair person. He has helped the community a great deal. Yo trabajo para él 25 años y siempre ha sido un hombre que ha ayudado a los empleados. I've worked for him for the past 25 years. He's always been the type of boss who has always helped his employees.
Si no tenemos trabajo, él no nos manda a casa, nos mantiene la compañía.
If the company is low on its jobs, they don't send us home. They keep us there at the company working.
Nos provee aseguranza para nuestras familias y yo pienso que él necesita que le den otra oportunidad para el proyecto que está en el proyecto que está en Les Lawson y Central.
He gives us health insurance, he provides health insurance for our family, and I would like to ask you to give him another opportunity of the project that's taking place on Slauson and Central.
Es todo lo que...
Just tell him to finish the
gracias por...
statement. Just finish it. Yeah, just take your time.
I'm finished.
Oh,
Sí.
I'm
okay.
done.
Thank you so much for coming. And just for the record, I'm the only person up here that doesn't understand Spanish, so you should be glad because of me, we really need you, okay? Allison Burns. See, Garcetti's just a show-off. That's all. Good morning.
Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Allison Burns. I'm here on behalf of Stanley Kramer and Kramer Metals. I want to make sure that the committee was provided a copy of my letter of August 5th addressed to the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Los Angeles. I have an extra for the file if it is not already in the record. I would note that the council file report references approval of an amended DDA and recognition of $350,000 in additional funds in the 2008 budget in the report dated August 12, 2008. This report ignores the fact that the proposed project you're being asked to approve today includes a $21 million subsidy, not a $350,000 budget impact, a $21 million subsidy to a private developer to construct a project that the property's owners are ready, willing, and able to build faster, better, and without any public funds whatsoever. A Brown Act violation pertaining to this meeting will be discussed in detail by Mr. Wright following me, but I will note that I am a subscriber to the Housing Agendas listserv, and I did not receive it until this week.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This was posted, I want to say, at about 2:30 or 2:45 on Friday. I think that we find ourselves purely within the letter of the law where it relates to the Brown Act. Now I have an opportunity to meet Mr. Stanley Kramer, if you would come forward. And I will say this, sir, you do have some loyal individuals that have worked with you over the years. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. My name is Stanley Kramer. I'm the owner of the property at 1000 East Lawson, and for the last 10 years I have been trying to build this project at no cost to the community. We have been fighting this thing for 10 years. We've been ready to build this thing with no subsidies. You're being told that the subsidy is $10 to $15 million from the LA. That does not consider any of the future litigation that is forthcoming, and that the costs could go as high as, it's unlimited, depending on what happens in the appeals courts. I'd like to point out to you that at our last meeting with the CRA, we submitted this documentation to the CRA board and to 7 different members. And if you look at this volume of this, not one question was asked of us. That whole meeting was a sham, and I urge you to not grant this and to have your own investigation and look into this matter, and you will see that we are the better project at no cost to the city. Thank you.
Sarah Withers, is it? If anybody else wants to speak on item 5, you need to turn in a card right now, because if I don't get it within the next 10 seconds, I'm closing debate on this item. So, good morning, it's good to see you.
Thank you. Sarah Magana Withers. Thank you, honorable members. We're here this morning. I'll try to be very brief within my time, but if you see in your packets, we put together a very simple handout that spells out this deal. And all of this information is documented within the CRA and also the documentation that we have here. As you can see, the South Central LLC is proposing a 76,000 square foot shopping center. We are proposing a 91,000 square foot shopping center with a national credit tenant supermarket. We are offering, as you can see, the second page, you will see the assistance that is being offered by the CRA in excess of over $21 million. and also how the developer is only paying $1.1 million for this land. And they will be receiving approximately 18% return on their money. As you can see in the subsequent pages, you will also see that there is no public subsidy required, and we offer exactly the same benefits. The only difference is that the City of Los Angeles will also be able to retain the revenue that is generated from the tax increment that otherwise will be used to service a Section 108 loan that is being proposed by Slauson Central LLC. Thank you very much.
That brings us to Daniel Wright, and then next I think it's David Weber would be our last speaker. Mr. Wright, good morning.
Good morning. Daniel Wright, 215 Marengo Avenue, Pasadena. On behalf of Kramer Metals and M.A. Gabay, the rightful owners of the property at Slauson Central before its seizure by this city. As outlined in Section 2 of the letter I submitted today, this meeting is being conducted without having provided the public with notice of the meeting agenda for the 72-hour period prior to the commencement of this meeting. I came to the Civic Center this past Sunday at 11 a.m. to inspect public bulletin boards. I went to City Hall East, where I observed many public agendas posted and accessible to the community. I walked across to City Hall and observed the Board of Public Works bulletin board outdoors, but it had no agenda for this meeting. I tried the doors to City Hall, but they were closed and locked. At that time, I concluded the city had not posted the agenda, and I concluded the meeting was not readily available to the public.
We'll hold your time, just because I'm very concerned about Brown Act stuff. What time were the doors locked at?
Approximately 11 a.m. on Sunday.
Oh, on Sunday, okay.
Right.
And what time on Friday? Because I know your letter talked about that, too.
Well, it's my understanding.
You said a few hours, but I wasn't sure exactly what time.
After, when I first learned that this meeting was going to take place yesterday, I called the city clerk's office and I interviewed them. They told me that they posted this agenda on the some kind of bulletin board in the lobby of City Hall entrance downstairs at about 2 o'clock on Friday. But I came back here last night and interviewed the security guards, and I asked the security guards this morning, are these lobby doors unlocked and available to the public during the weekend? And the answer is from your staff is consistently no, they're not. The public is not allowed in the lobby on the weekends, which means that for Sunday
so you're like the
forward,
the 5 o'clock closing date or 6 o'clock or whatever time, or
correct,
7 o'clock.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I believe there is a violation of Section 54954.2A here, and that this entire meeting is being conducted in violation of the Brown Act. I would also direct your attention to our detailed letter on all the other CEQA issues. There are major CEQA issues here, but if we're going to have 1 minute time period, I can't go into it. I'd also note that all of the project opponents are being put first, so apparently we're reserving all of the rest for last, which is not in the order in which the cards were submitted. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Our next speaker is, I believe it's David Weber.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm David Weber. I represent Slauson Central LLC. I work with Regency Centers, the developer of the project. I just want to let everybody know that I'm here to answer any questions. I know a lot's been said. I think the record is straight, but I think the public comment is a little misguided on exactly what's going on. We've been working on the project for almost 10 years now, and we've followed all the proper processes to get this project redeveloped. I would ask you please remember that this is a brownfield. It's a scrap metal yard. It is a dirty place, and we have been working with community groups. We've had 10 years of comment. There's been ample opportunity for all of the owners and stakeholders to take part in this process. We feel very strongly we follow due process. We've gone through all of the proper hearings. We have a valid DDA at this time with the city, and we're actually going to have that amended so that we can move forward with this project as soon as possible, actually get this built with the list of community benefits that you have all seen and have been in the packets and the hearings from the whole point forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes, for pinch hitting for me. I do appreciate it. If there are no questions from the committee.
We can go ahead and vote. We can go ahead and vote. If you want to just vote.
Okay, there are no questions or concerns where it relates to the committee. Mr. Cardenas is leaving, so he will not be registered as a vote on this item. So then, without objection, on item 5, we will adopt the CAO report. And that brings us to, is it special agenda 1, Madam Clerk? Madam CLA?
Yes, sir.
If you could read that item.
Special Agenda Item 1 is a report from the Chief Legislative Analyst and the City Administrative Officer relative to establishing a green retrofit program for city-owned properties, a green retrofit workforce and construction trust fund, and related actions.
Okay, at this point, Paul, maybe I could have you come forward and describe where we're at this point.
Good morning. Mr.
Good
Chairman,
morning.
Paul Smith from the CLA's office. As you will recall, Mr. Chairman, in June of 2007, this committee and the ITGS committee submitted a report to the council recommending the phased retrofitting of city-owned buildings and public spaces to LEED standards, and also included in that report the establishment of a green buildings job task force, which you chaired, and it was also you were joined with the mayor's office, the WIB, GSD, DVP, Council District 13, Labor, and Apollo Alliance, with the task to oversee the development and placement of jobs as part of implementation of the energy and water audit of city-owned buildings conducted by DWP. The report before you today is submitting the recommendations of the task force. This is essentially a green-collar job report. It's a confluence of various city policies and activities relative to green industries. It takes the city's long-standing policy relative to job creation where we can, melds it with the initiatives of the council and the water and power and other departments on green industries, sustainable buildings, sustainable communities, and especially job development in communities where jobs are needed, necessary, and also further other council goals. The task force had approximately 6-7 main key recommendations or elements to it. The first is that the General Services and the Bureau of Engineering will develop a green retrofit program. This will be done by ordinance. It will cover all properties, all city-owned properties over 7,500 square feet or constructed by 1978, with the intent to meet LEED silver or higher requirements. Secondly, it's also the second element of the task force was to have GSD and DVP pursue the installation of solar options and geothermal heating where possible in this retrofit program. 3 would to initiate a green retrofit city facilities low-income program in low-income communities, and prioritizing buildings with health and safety issues and have a direct impact on their communities, such as rec centers, libraries, etc. Now, the fourth element would be the creation by ordinance of a green retrofit workforce and construction trust fund. This would receive monies from grants, public and private contributions. This would be also to fund the retrofitting program. Fifthly would be the create by ordinance the Los Angeles Green Retrofit Development Interdepartmental Task Force. This will be the main agency upon which the work will be completed. The report lists out various activities that the task force will undertake. The task force will be assisted by the creation of a Green Retrofit Development Advisory Council. This is basically department and bureau heads which will come in and help the task force. The seventh element would be actually a staffing for the program, which will be an executive director and administrative assistant. They will be the key to making things work within the task force. The executive director will be hired through the mayor's office in consultation with the advisory council. It will be part of the mayor's office. The report also lists out who those members of those two, the task force and the advisory committee. It also states that the initial funding for the program is somewhere in the order of $250,000. There's an instruction to seek those funds through the mayor's office and through the chair of the Green Buildings Task Force. Upon finding suitable funding, the mayor's office will hire the appropriate staff. That's about it, Mr. Chairman. I'll be here for any questions.
Okay, thank you. At this point, I'd like to ask the city attorney to make a clarifying statement.
Yes, just to clarify for the record, because I don't think it was clear that the committee had recessed the regular meeting momentarily to take up the special agenda, to hear that item, and upon adjournment of the special meeting, we'll go back into session on the regular agenda.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney, for covering me on that one. At this point in time, we're going to hear testimony from the public. I will not be accepting any more cards after the latest stack that I just received. There's a thing that sometimes is called preaching to the choir, but sometimes the choir needs to be preached to. I do want to just say before we start the hearing that this request that we're making, the report that we just heard, was generated, in my opinion, from so many of the people that I see here in the orange shirts. It was a suggestion brought to me by you, and I hope that this shows that your government can work with you, or we can work together when we form a partnership. With that said, I'm going to ask Cheryl Parisi to come forward, and testimony will be 1 minute per individual, because we have to try to get to council. So please, Cheryl, I saw you earlier, come forward. I did see her, so what we'll do is, listen, Elsa, why don't you come up? Well, no, here she comes. And then Elsa, you're next. Okay. And I'm going to...
You first.
So, Elsa's. Morning.
Good morning. My name is Cheryl Parisi, and I'm the Executive Director of AFSCME District Council 36. One could look at the challenges that we face and get discouraged. Skyrocketing energy, food, and healthcare prices are all signs of great economic stress that affect our families. The growing number of unemployed, juxtaposed with the shortage of workers skilled for the jobs of the future, is a major workforce issue. Additionally, we must come to grips with our endangered natural environment. Global warming, air pollution, and drought will cause further decline in our quality of life. The Apollo Alliance looks at these challenges and sees the opportunity to remake the city into the most environmentally friendly city in the country, with a workforce that is trained to retrofit buildings throughout the city with energy-saving, non-polluting, state-of-the-art technologies. That's why we're here. AFSCME District Council 36 is proud to be part of the Los Angeles Apollo Alliance and wholeheartedly endorses the Green Retrofit Workforce Development Policy Framework. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, call the next few folks. Come on up. Give us your name. And after you, we'll call up Jane Paul and then Fred Steiner. If you'd like to come on up, there's 2 microphones available to you. Jane Paul and Fred Steiner. We can keep the committee going. Please give us your name and address.
Elsa Barbosa, 1715 West Florence Avenue with scope in the LA Apollo Alliance. Good morning, council members.
Good morning.
I just wanted to really quickly just give you the realistic and the idealistic. The realistic is that the LA Apollo Alliance is made up of 24 organizations. We've been working on this for about 2 years, so we're quite proud of it. We've been working with the leadership of Councilman Wesson, with the mayor's office, and always with the support of President Garcetti. We've brought this to you before. A lot of work has been put into it, and realistically, we know that a lot more work needs to be put into it to really be able to do a large-scale retrofit program to create jobs and do workforce development. None of that is easy stuff to do, so we understand that. We want to work with HCD committee to negotiate and make the details happen. And idealistically, I just want to tell you that we feel like we're making history here. So we want to work with you and your leadership. There's 100 people outside after today, or after the HCD committee. We're going to take this to the rest of your colleagues, to the rest of council, and do a grassroots community and worker delegation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jane Paul and Fred Steiner.
Good morning. My name's Jane Paul. I represent the Green LA Coalition. The Green LA Coalition is composed of more than 100 environmental justice, and community-based organizations. We strongly encourage endorsement from you of the Green Retrofit program. The program will move the city infrastructure toward renewable energy sources, energy efficiency, and reducing greenhouse gases. It is critical to remember that what environment means is also healthy, whole communities whose residents have dignified living wage jobs, and a city with long-term economic stability and a skilled workforce, which this program will provide a training model for. The Green Retrofit program is a powerful opportunity for Los Angeles to show leadership in addressing climate change and economic justice. Thank you.
Thank you. Fred?
Good morning, committee members.
Ray Calderon is on deck. Ray or Roy? Yes.
Good morning, committee members. My name is Fred Steiner. I'm the Senior Assistant Executive Director for the Piping Industry Progress and Education Trust Fund, commonly referred to as PIPE. And we're a labor management cooperative committee, and we represent the plumbing and piping and air conditioning industry in Southern California. I'm here today to ask for your support of the Green Building Retrofit policy. This policy is good for the City of LA's environment, economy, and for its community members. The Green Building Retrofit policy is not only vital to the City of LA to help reduce CO2 emissions by 35% below 1990 levels by the year 2030, as aggressively proposed by Mayor Villagrosa, but it is also important because it will help the city reduce costs and save money on energy. In addition, the retrofit policy is vital to the community members of the City of Los Angeles since it will help create not just jobs, but also union construction careers with good paying wages and benefits. For example, the piping industry can be a pipeline for a community member to start a career in the plumbing or pipe fitting industry by meeting the basic requirements and applying to join our apprenticeship programs. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And Mr. Calderon, before you start, let me, because I know we have some people that are in the overflow room, let me ask Diana Limon and Tova Fuller to begin to work their way forward. And with that said, Mr. Calderon, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, committee members. My name is Ray Calderon, and I am a business representative for the Fire Sprinklers Local 709. And I am happy to be here in front of you today to request your support for the Green Building Retrofit policy for the City of Los Angeles. This policy is important because it will bring great benefits to the city's environment, economy, and community members. I believe that if you ask your community members out there if they would like a cleaner environment, the answer would be yes. If they would like to save money on energy costs, the answers would be yes. I believe that if you were to ask your committee members if it is important to create jobs in the City of Los Angeles, also I believe that the answer would be yes. The Green Building Retrofit policy will do exactly what the community members deserve and want. It will clean our city's environment, save money and energy costs, and it will create jobs. The Green Building Retrofit policy is important because of the work that it will generate in the City of Los Angeles. Creating more work creates new opportunities for community members who need careers in construction. Through this policy, our industry, the piping industry, can help provide a 5-year classroom and hands-on skills and training. Thank you very much.
Mr. Calderon. Diana, I think.
Good morning. My name is Diana Limon, and I was born and raised in LA. In all honesty, I love LA. Today, I represent the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 11, and its 8,000 members that work and live in the city and county of Los Angeles. Our organization is at the forefront of green building in Los Angeles County. Our 144,000 square foot training facility is run almost entirely on solar power. After investing several million dollars to install the system several years ago, we expect to have the system paid off in only 4 years. The money we used to spend on electricity is now spent on state-of-the-art technologies as well as basic items like textbooks. We feel that after retrofitting LA City buildings, in a short time, the city will see a similar payback. Another major benefit of the policy is that we will also be investing in our young people. By taking city youth and putting them in apprenticeships, you will get a different return on investment. Young people will learn a trade, make good money, and move out of poverty. We will be building our city's middle class. Thank you.
Thank you. Tova?
Good morning. My name is Tova Fuller, and I'm a member of the Board of Directors for Physicians for Social Responsibility Los Angeles and a medical student at UCLA. I'm here because we believe this policy will reduce community and worker exposure to hazardous chemicals and create sustainable and healthier jobs for all city residents. The production of traditional building materials exposes workers to a range of hazardous substances. In 2004, an estimated 200,000 Californians were diagnosed with preventable chronic disease attributable to chemical exposure in the workplace. This translates to $1.4 billion in direct and indirect costs to California. In addition, this policy aligns with AB 32, California's Global Warming Solutions Act. The same strategies that will achieve carbon dioxide reductions through energy efficiency will also drive down emissions of nitrogen oxides and particulate matter, which have been shown to cause numerous respiratory and cardiovascular illnesses. The proposed policy places a priority on retrofitting city buildings located in low-income communities, specifically buildings that have a direct impact on communities' health and well-being. Thank you.
Thank you. If we could now have Jennifer Gamata, I think it is, Bill Corcoran, and Yvonne Hayes come forward. Good morning.
Good morning.
Don't be shy. Want me to start? All right.
No, I want
Ladies
Jennifer
first,
to start.
but okay.
I want Jennifer to start.
Okay, good morning.
Jennifer, before you start, I mean,
I'm Jennifer.
how do you print so small?
I don't know. I just have. I just have.
I mean, it's nice, but it is small. And when you come to testify
Yeah.
before this committee, and the chair is old, you may want to write a little bigger. So good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Jennifer Ganata. I'm a community organizer at Communities for a Better Environment. I'm here to support the motion because I work primarily in Wilmington. Many of our members mostly have opportunities to work either at the Port of LA or in oil refineries, two major sources of pollution in the South Coast Air Basin. By supporting this motion, we will be able to provide jobs to communities like Wilmington with cleaner jobs that are stable, and hopefully, with the support from the council, that we'll be able to do this. And so, just wanted to say that CBE supports this motion with Apollo Alliance.
Thank you. Bill?
My name is Bill Corcoran. I'm the Senior Regional Representative for the National Sierra Club, and I want to speak in strong support of this community initiative. The only way we will meaningfully address global warming and improve the environment is to take care of our urban core, and in particularly our underserved populations. This is a great, innovative program that will create jobs in the community, and that's a step forward and an important one, both in addressing global warming and the long-term health of our cities. Thank you.
Thank you. Yvonne?
Good
Good to
morning,
see you.
committee members. It's good to see you too, Councilman. My name is Yvonne Hayes, and I'm here today with the agenda. I live in South Los Angeles, and as a constituent and activist, I strongly encourage you to support the Los Angeles Apollo Green Jobs Initiative. This initiative would train and place low-income residents into new jobs in the emerging green manufacturing and green building sectors, as well as shape a green economy that will address poverty in inner city communities. The development of a green industry in Los Angeles has the potential to revitalize inner city communities through quality job creation, training, and sustainable economic development. Right now, elected officials have an enormous opportunity, and responsibility to take action on global warming. This initiative would bring our city toward a clean energy future.
Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Yvonne comes to the table and identifies herself as being with Scope Agenda. I just want you to know the orange T-shirt was not a giveaway. I'm really glad. I'm really glad you clarified that for me. Candace Kim, I think it's Aurea Green and Ada Panella. Please come forward. Good morning. You don't have on orange, so I don't have a clue.
Good morning. My name is Candace Kim. I'm here on behalf of the Coalition for Clean Air. We're a statewide organization that's been working for over 35 years to restore cleaner, healthier air to all of California. And we are also a member organization of the LA Apollo Alliance. Los Angeles can and should help lead the way to a cleaner, greener, and more energy-efficient city that uses safer building materials. A Green Jobs initiative will allow us to green while simultaneously creating good jobs and healthier communities. The Coalition for Clean Air strongly supports this initiative to build a green economy in LA that will grow good jobs strong enough to lift the people of our city out of poverty as it greens our beautiful city.
Thank you so much. With 17 seconds left.
I
Ms.
tried to be
Green.
fast. They told me I only had a minute.
Ms. Green.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Good morning, council.
Good morning.
My name is Aurea. I'm with Agenda. I live in the Baldwin Hills neighborhood. I support this motion because I have lived in South Los Angeles for 20 years. I have seen all the good paying jobs leave my community. It's time to invest in South Los Angeles and create green paying jobs in our community, in our green industry, for our youth and people like myself. I'm surrounded by freeways. Our children have asthma. It's time to invest in a green development and clean up our community. And plus, we have collected 1,400 postcards for our city council members. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I love this group. She had 20-some-odd seconds
40
left.
seconds, huh?
Oh, she's rolling. Ms. Panella.
Buenos días. Mi nombre es Aida Pinilla. Soy líder de la Alianza Metropolitana de Silver Lake, Echo Park y Hollywood.
Good morning. My name is Aida Anilla. I'm a leader. Pinilla. Sorry. I'm a leader of the Metropolitan Alliance of Silver Lake and Hollywood and Echo Park.
Yo vengo en representación de las madres solteras y queremos que nuestros hijos salgan adelante. Tenemos que limpiar nuestras comunidades y ver que nuestros hijos estén saludables. Queremos que con el apoyo de todos ustedes tengamos los buenos trabajos verdes. Gracias.
I'm here representing single mothers, and we would like our children to move ahead in the future in a healthy environment. We want cleaner communities, and we want our children to grow up in a healthy environment as well. We would like your support because we need the green jobs, and we want those green jobs to become a reality. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You know, it is the policy of this committee where it relates to applause, that at the end of the day, you have to applaud the council members, even a little louder than you did. I want, bad chair. I want Augustine Moreno, Mary Vaughns, and Julie Butcher to please come forward. What, Julie, what happened?
She grew a beard. A big change.
I like the goatee.
Good morning, sir.
Buenos días. Mi nombre es Agustín y pertenezco a la organización Agenda. La comunidad no es basurero. Necesitamos la energía solar y el espacio verde.
Good morning, my name is Agustin. I'm here with the organization Agenda. Our community is not a landfill. We need green space.
Y el espacio verde. La contaminación nos afecta a todos en general.
We need green spaces, green zones, because the contamination affects all of us.
Esperamos que ustedes aprueben el programa de entrenamiento de trabajos verdes.
I hope that you approve this green training program.
Sí se puede. Gracias.
We can do it, thank you.
Yes, we can.
That's 20 seconds. You know, 20 seconds.
Ms. Vaughn.
My name is Mary Vons, and I'm with Agenda Scope. And when we meet in groups, in family gatherings, and speak to our neighbors, we want it to be your names that we speak on our lips when we speak of elected officials who did the right thing by supporting the green retrofit policy. We believe that you will do what you learned in kindergarten. You will do what is right, you will do what is fair, therefore you will do what is good for our community. We believe and we know that you will make yourself, your family, your community, and your city proud of you by the decision that you make regarding the green retrofit policy. Thank you.
Thank you. You referenced kindergarten. Toughest 3 years I ever spent. Now, since you are pinch hitting for Ms. Butcher, if you could identify.
Absolutely.
yourself.
I'm not Julie Butcher. I'm Jason Elias, Elias, and a proud constituent of the council presidents, representing SEIU Local 721. And as you know, as a member of the LA City Coalition of Unions, we have partnered with the city on many ways to improve public services, save the city money, create jobs, and job training opportunities for LA's communities most in need. A lot of those become our members, and we're proud to have them. The Green Retrofit proposal does all these things. It provides good union jobs in construction and also in the operation of upgraded city facilities that will save money by reducing energy costs. In doing so, we are cleaning up the environment not by hugging trees, although we like that sometimes, but by upgrading city buildings such as libraries, rec centers, and others that are in dire need of repair in many of our inner city communities. Our custodians, gardeners, and maintenance laborers stand ready to partner with the city as well to upgrade their skills and to upgrade their job skills. And also to work with community partners to create more affordable and greener ways of taking care of LA City buildings. Please support the Green Retrofit proposal.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Is it we done?
Well, before, I just want to take a head count to see how many members want to say anything.
Yeah.
And I'm going to look directly at Elsa when I make this statement. It's my understanding that this item will be heard in the event that it's approved by the City Council on Friday. Now, what I would highly recommend is that it would be a great thing to have all of Scope Agenda members there in their attractive orange T-shirts so people know who they are. But Friday, in all seriousness, so I'm asking a personal favor here. Friday could be a very, very long day for us because we're going into recess. So you may want to select like 3 to 5 people, 1 to 2 people to come in and, articulate your case so that other members that have other, motions or what have you, we could move through with that. So with that said, as I'm sitting here seriously deciding how I'm going to vote on this, I will defer to the council president.
Thank you. You got to keep working on him right now, okay? So any positive vibrations you can send his way are good. But the chair has been a champion of this, and I want to thank him first and foremost. Let's give Herb Wesson a round of applause for the work that he has done. And I do think
Trust me,
that was louder.
I did not want to stop that, but sometimes you don't
Gotta
want
learn
to
to do
show
this,
off.
you know, stop. And it was in your district that we had the first coming together with the most articulate group of Angelinos on the environment that I have encountered in my entire time as an elected official. So congratulations to everybody who did the work, who educated us, who educated yourselves, who are educating the community, and who are pushing this forward. And to requote Diana, I love LA today too, and I'm very proud to see everybody here, part of my community, part of my colleagues' communities, and representing the cutting edge of America right now as well. The time for talk is over. The time for action is now. We have waited, we've done the research, we are prepared for 2 years, and the chair has helped light the fire under the feet of this entire project. I hope to hold one match under that as well. And we need to have a trust fund moving forward that puts the funds in place. We need to have the advisory council up and running, and I'm very excited that together with Mr. Wesson and Ms. Perry and the mayor, we will be able to appoint that should this go forward and should we pass this on Friday, which I feel pretty confident about. And it also establishes the way that just like when we worked with Agenda on job training around the healthcare career ladders, which was a project that you did the research on, you brought to me when I chaired this committee, and we said we can do better. Now, there were growing pains along the way there, like there's going to be growing pains here, but we showed that we could bring labor and the community and business and the educational world together. And within that, too, I think it's very important that we look at our community college districts and that we really look at, especially as they are coming to us for a bond, which I certainly do support, but that we incorporate into these new facilities training programs for green jobs so that our community colleges can buy homes or apartments as well in the private sector and teach students that are going through about the green building jobs of tomorrow. When they finish that, they sell that off, and with that money, they buy another one. So there's always a classroom out there. We have shown in the city what happens when we take our new buildings and we make them green. We have lower energy costs, we have better work environments, people like those libraries and those fire stations and those police stations better, but we also are going to be saving money long term. But it's time to do that with our old buildings, because just because you live in a neighborhood with an older library or an older police station, it should be just as green, and it should be just as environmentally sensitive as the new buildings that we are building. So you have my full support. I want to thank Sam Siegel from my staff, who's been working hard with you on this as well. And again, congratulations to everybody, and I vote aye.
Thank you.
Maybe the roll wasn't open.
It can't be louder or longer than mine. So. Mr. Reyes wants to make a statement, and then Mr. Cardenas has a couple of questions. Mr. Reyes.
All I wanted to say is thank you. It's been said over and over again, nothing stops a bullet better than a job. So all the work you're doing is going to be felt by many folks in future generations. So on behalf of all the future kids and the youth and those folks who don't have a voice, thank you so much.
Paul, maybe you could come. Paul, if you could come forward, I think Mr. Cardenas had a question or two. Mr. Cardenas.
The types of activities that the Construction Trust Fund will fund, is that to be determined by the future body, or
Yeah.
have they?
I mean, it's my understanding that the disbursements from that trust fund will be in keeping of the policy that you are articulating today, but the exact disbursements will be at the the approval of the task force.
How do we gain an understanding of what types of activities the Construction Trust Fund will fund?
Well, there'll be a full range of activities that are associated with retrofitting. Remember, we have the DDP audits, and the audits will lay out corrective actions relative to conservation measures. Those will be the initial step looking at, and then we'll build from there to other measures which build upon the audit recommendations and lead to LEED's silver standards on these buildings as funds become available from a variety of sources that folks will be working on, including grants and private sector and public sector donations.
So, for example, if the city has a 20,000 square foot building, clearly identified that it needs to be retrofitted and upgraded, and then we bring to bear grants or funds or what have you, that that doesn't mean that the trust fund is going to be responsible for funding the entire project. The trust fund will be complementary to funding the project, most likely, or?
Well, I think it's going to be a combination of things. I think the trust fund will be a depository for monies that we collect from a variety of sources, general fund contributions, private sector. It's going to be an effort to seek out funding from various sources. Hopefully, in the next 4 to 8 years, the federal government will be more amenable to providing this type of activity at the local level.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
As a quick side note on that, Mr. Cardenas, as well, I don't know about the other presidential candidate, and so this is just a point of information. I know that one of the presidential candidates is looking at funding that would be available at the federal level for this sort of construction. Mr. Obama has talked about that, and that's something that we're working on in his platform as well. So should it come to pass that he be president, we would also be able to take those sorts of funds from the federal government and bring them here locally.
Okay, seeing and hearing there no more questions or concerns. Without objection, we will adopt the joint CAO and CLA report. This is a done deal, so let it be written, so let it be done. Congratulations. Okay. See, some of you are showing your age by doing the Arsenio Hall thing. It hasn't been on the air for 12 years. Okay. So with that said, I guess we adjourn the special hearing, and then we will return to the regular agenda, which brings us to item 12, which is a presentation from the Housing Department. Please come forward, and as you leave, if you guys could keep it down. And again, thank you. Mercedes, good morning.
Good morning.
In fact, we got to read the item. Ms. Barclay, read the item.
Item 12 is a presentation from the General Manager, Los Angeles Housing Department, relative to the foreclosure crisis in Los Angeles.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. A few months ago, this committee had directed the Housing Department to be prepared on a very regular basis to give you updates on where the city stands on foreclosures, and we're responding with this presentation and stand prepared to continue on a regular basis to do that. So, today's overview, we've come forward and we're mapping the crisis for you. We are prepared to give you an overview of the federal legislation that will bring significant funding to the city, and talk about our neighborhood stabilization strategy and response, both as it relates to home ownership, single-family homes, and the protection of renters. First, framing the crisis. What we have done is established a data committee. It is incredibly important that as we move forward, we go forward with facts, not with anecdotes. We are so large that we have to really make sure that we understand exactly where the crisis is and how it's developing. The maps before you can go ahead. The map before you, and that is up here, we have actually mapped all to an address level all of the foreclosures for 2007 and the first 2 quarters of 2008. That means that the Housing Department policy staff has gone through it, cleaned all of the data, and working with a data committee that we have established, which includes the Federal Reserve, academics locally, the Enterprise Foundation, our consultants, CSG advisors, and the Housing Department have gone through to decide what is the best information to buy on a quarterly basis, at what level, and how to present it. This map represents all of the foreclosures in the single-family area. What is also important is what we have tried to do here is not only do an overlay by city council district, but also, given that the federal dollars that will come dictate how the money can be spent and limits it by income, what we have done is taken the 2000 census data that showed all of the census tracts that were at 120% of area median income and below, and those are the gray blocks that underlie this map, so that you can begin to see where the foreclosures are as it relates to income levels, which the federal government will dictate. So it's the best opportunity to get a sense of where things are happening.
Can you just for the sake of clarity, the 120%, what range in dollar terms does that hit?
120%, this takes the HUD formulas into account. For a family of 4, 120% of AMI right now is about $90,000.
90,000, okay.
So for a single person, the unadjusted is about $71,000. So this is important because the federal legislation will limit everything we do up to 120%. What I can tell you quickly is that when you take a look from that point of view, the units that border, we have a table that tells you where every city council district stands in terms of number and rank, in terms of how you're affected throughout the city. We've had over 9,100 foreclosures in the last year and a half, but notices of default are over 35,000. The trend is unbelievable. Why don't you go right to number 13? Since we have such limited time, I want you to understand that the maps we have provided you show trending. They will go up on our website, but you all have them. But the trend is pretty stark, right? We've had, from the first quarter of 2007 compared to the first quarter of 2008, it is a 282% increase in foreclosures. The first quarter of 2008 to the second quarter of 2008, it is a 40% increase. So we have seen 2007 began, but we have seen dramatic increases. Now again, not all foreclosures are the same. And that is why in the original maps, we gave you where it lies for those that are 120% and below. And that is because we have subprime that really hit in 2007, and now we have some subprime, but also Alt-8. Alt-A loans that hit in 2008. When you take a look at those maps, what we have here for you, what I want you to see is that as we go forward in 2008, more and more properties are outside of those areas. So those may be middle-class loans, people who are underwater, where the market may best take care of them. So they won't need dollars from the city. It's the market itself will permit it. So that's important. If we could go to 14, I want to talk to you about the federal legislation. Very important here. What are the eligible uses of the funding? Right? Purchase and acquisitions of foreclosed residential properties, the rehab of foreclosed residential properties, demolition of blighted structures that were foreclosed on, and redevelopment of demolished or vacant properties. Of course, the most important thing is that it deals with the universe of those that were actually foreclosed upon. It is not money to be used for any other purpose, right? At the present time, there is no funding for administrative costs, right? It must at this point fall in line with the rest of what we're doing. There are no new admin monies in there. And as I said, it restricts it. 120% of AMI for a family of 4 is 90,000, and at least 25% of the funds must be used for families that are at 50% or below of AMI. So this is very different from our regular Cdbg programs. It is in name a Cdbg program, but it is actually housing dollars specifically for this purpose and very clearly defined what you can use it for and what you can't. All right, the funding formula. We have a situation where within 60 days of enactment, which was 7/30/08, HUD must come forward with the formula. The formula takes into account the number of foreclosures, the number of subprimes, defaults, or delinquencies. We have been very involved up to this point in helping outline what would be in this legislation, as have many of you. Thank you so much for all the help you've given. Once the formulas are decided upon, HUD is supposed to be ready to distribute money within 30 days. As you know, I was a HUD appointee in the Clinton administration. I doubt it.
Let me just emphasize something. Here we are, I know we're short on time, but here you have funds coming in from the federal government aimed at these beneficiaries, yet we don't have the money to process it to get it out on the street, while we are also looking at cutbacks in the department.
Correct. So it's got to be in the smartest way possible, using what we already have. Most probably, what we already have. LHD is the only underwriter of homeownership loans in this.
I just wanted to amplify that.
Yeah, no, you're right. This is, for us, we are beginning to look very seriously. We are prepared to completely revamp both our homeownership and rehab programs to follow along in line. We believe that we will be involved in these properties for 3 to 5 years. So we're making dramatic changes to be able to follow up and be like the bamboo, be strong and flexible. as we go forward. There are also some other things in the law, some tax-exempt bond authority, but what is very important is that that bonding authority also has income limits. It also caps at 120% of AMI, right? So all of this is capped and very prescribed. It is possible that California will get about $1.2 billion of allocation, and CDLAC is deciding, and we're involved in that process, how that money will be allocated. Again, it is all prescribed by income. Very important. We see here the Federal Housing Trust Fund. LA probably wouldn't see money from that trust fund for at least 3 years, since when it is funded, it is assumed that the first chunk will go to the states that dealt with the hurricane, so New Orleans and Mississippi.
Mrs. I do know that Councilman Perry has some questions, and I'm looking at
Yes.
the clock, so I don't know
Please,
if
we
you're
know.
ready
Please
now
go
or
forward.
want to wait till she's
Interrupt at
going.
any time.
Okay, these are a couple of questions that I had I want to put on the record, and if we don't answer them today, I think there may be a need to bring them back to committee. The first question is, where is the underwriting for home ownership loans conducted within the city?
At the Housing Department.
Okay, now does LAHD report directly to HUD on its CDBG and home expenditures?
Well, yes, we do actually. The way it works in CDBG is that while it is administered through CDD, once LHD receives the housing portion, we very directly go through HUD's integrated disbursement program, and we enter all the information ourselves. So we manage all that money.
So basically that means that LAHD reports home and CDBG program income?
Directly, yes, we do.
Great. Now tell me what the difference is between HR 3221, CDBG allocation, and the city's regular allocation of CDBG funds.
Well, CDBG is a very broad program, can be used for any number of reasons, housing facades in CD1 when we did that TNI program. This is not that, right? This is a housing allocation, mainly of capital. So as opposed to competing, for instance, when we apply with the con plan, right, you all make a decision as to how much of that is housing. This is all housing and only housing. And it prescribes differently than CDBG. In CDBG regular program, the city has the opportunity to decide how it will mix the income stratas, what it will be used for, even within housing. Here it does not. The federal government has very clearly told us what it can be used for and what it cannot. Also, there is no admin money in it, unlike the regular CDBG program, which pays for staffing. This does not.
Okay, great. Mr. Chair, I have one more thing I wanted to say, and then
go right ahead.
I have an ask, and I can reiterate it at the end. The city's administrative code, Chapter 24, directs the Los Angeles Housing Department to plan, coordinate, direct, and manage housing programs, as well as propose and develop comprehensive citywide affordable housing policy. And I want to make a motion that LAHD, or the Housing Department, be the lead agency in the development and administration of the Neighborhood Stabilization Program and in securing the federal funding under HR 3221. And I'd like to ask, Mr. Chair, if you can have the Housing Department come back to the committee with a report on the final program and the application parameters once HUD has finalized the formula.
Fine, that's okay with the
Great. And then the other thing I just wanted to say, just from a personal Council District 9 perspective, and some of you may share this, if we're fortunate enough to get $3.4 million in CDBG funding, we absolutely need to keep the program in the Housing Department. And as one member of the committee, I'm going to fight like hell to make sure that happens.
Well,
because
can we just move to have LHDB lead? CDD's been doing a great job partnering in this as well, but I think in that initial motion that they were the lead in the process in accessing funding, but since it's housing funding, it makes a lot of sense for
it's more logical. But I just want to say that if we get the money, we need to keep it in housing. And maybe I'm being selfish because districts like ours are disproportionately affected by the work that housing does. So we want these programs to work and to be successful. So that's basically my motion, and I can restate it, or if you want.
And Mr. City Attorney, let's make sure we get this into the record properly.
Well, but there's no action. This is just a presentation today, so probably
where it relates to, is there not a way that we can take what Ms. Perry said and and move on it, or are there
Have
some
enough-
hoops that we have
Here,
to
I
go
think it's an
through?
Alacon motion, so we can talk to Mr. Alacon, and we can introduce
Maybe
the motion
add it.
in council, because since it's not on what's agendized
Like
here,
a friendly-
we can do that in council today, yeah, we'll talk to him about it.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so then that's the way we'll move forward with
Okay.
that. Any other questions?
Just real
Mr.
quick
Garcetti?
as well. Are you also working with the city attorney to discuss legal action, additional protections for tenants that live in foreclosed properties?
Yes, we are actually. In fact, we're taking a look at a number of things. We're taking a look at Costa Hawkins and Ellis to figure out where it is we could slip in and present to you options for tenants that are outside of rent control. Those tenants that are in RSO, as you know, cannot be evicted, but those that are not within have faced that risk. The new law, the Parada bill that passed and is now law because it was urgency legislation, does provide 60 days notice to all tenants. But the RSO in this situation for RSO units supersedes that, so it governs, it is not set off. There's also a Tarico bill in the Assembly that is coming forward, it is not yet law, that would give more protections, but we've already actually met with the city attorney to take a look at Costa Hawkins. We've met actually with CD9 to take another look, and we've also talked to Sam.
Sure.
And so we will come forward very soon on what else we may be able to do to bridge that gap without violating those state laws.
And the last thing, Mr. Chair, on the utility shut-off, appreciate the work that you've done for the multifamily properties, and that you're just talking to DWP. Could you discuss your plans very quickly to make sure lights are on during the process and after foreclosure? Because the current proposal, as I understand, doesn't address what happens to a property when it's going through the notice of default. Is that something that we're addressing?
Yes, we continue. We expect to be at a conclusion with DWP within 30 days, and our hope is to bring an MOU to the council for approval. So we're hammering out all of the details of how we would get this done in the future.
Okay, we're ready with urgency provisions as well. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you. So I just want to thank you, Mercedes, and your staff for the presentation. And again, it's really good for us to see that you are most of the time on top of most issues. So thank you very much.
We're on it. I want to thank the policy staff, which has become absolutely excellent.
They're the
I want to thank them.
18th. The 18th. Mr. City Attorney, on item 5, it's my understanding that there was an amendment that we didn't get in when we moved on this. So what's the appropriate action at this point so that we can revote or have the amendment added to item 5?
Well, since everybody's not here now on that, I don't know if perhaps it would be best to do it in council.
I can move to reconsider it since it's before us. We can just amend it with the three of us.
So why don't let's move, Mr. Garcetti moves reconsideration.
Second.
That's seconded, so now we're reconsidering the items, and we have everyone that voted on that item is present right now.
Yes.
So, with that said, Mr. City Attorney will adopt the CAO report as amended.
As amended.
Okay.
What's the amendment?
Just for,
Would you have to read it into the record?
You have to read it into the record.
for the sake of clarification, I believe that the necessary amendment would be to amend the CAO report to receive the environmental documents relative to this project provided by the CRA in committee today.
Okay, then.
And the receipt of those records was noted earlier in the session.
Jenny Scanlon.
Hi, there's.
It was received here.
Right.
And it was submitted in committee. We do
Right,
have it.
and the CLA acknowledged that at the time that the.
Is that available for any members of the public? Are there any members of the public that would like to see that? That is available here with the clerk. Just want to establish that record.
Jenny Scanlon.
Jenny Scanlon with the CRA. We also just need the CAO's report to actually reflect a new recommendation for action of the council. And I believe that we supplemented the CAO's report with this council transmittal today, which you should have received at the beginning of the meeting. The recommendation is that the City Council receive the attached documents in connection with the Slauson Central Retail Project and adopt the attached resolution stating that it is considered the environmental effects of the project as shown in the initial study mitigated negative declaration as supplemented by the August 2008 addendum to the MND and making other findings required by the California Environmental Quality Act. So we just need that recommendation to also be
Okay, so
added.
Mr. Clerk, you do have a copy of that document?
I do have a copy of
Okay,
that.
so then
Source great.
it would appear to be so.
Yes,
So,
and in addition to that, we are substituting in a new resolution, a new environmental resolution, for the one that was part of the original transmittal.
But those were provided in the CRA report provided today, correct?
Should have
So-
been, yes, part of this packet that they received at the beginning of the meeting.
But in terms of Brown Act, since that was raised, this information can be made available to the public between now and council, correct?
Yes, it will be available to the public in our records department, and we now have given a copy to the city clerk's office.
So folks who would want to see it would be informed how? We just make it available on a website, or?
We've already published on the, about the council meeting, and the publication does state that folks can receive any documents at our records department. So
everything is transparent?
Yes.
So, Mr. City Attorney, you look
Right.
vexed.
I guess there may be a couple of other ways we could discuss how to address it, perhaps as a separate item on it, if there'll be a special agenda, and put this as a separate item, so there's no Brown Act issue there.
So it would be a special item, what, in council?
I think you refer to the council agenda for Friday.
the council, okay.
That's probably the better way.
Then there's no question.
Yeah, that's the better way to do it. So that's what we will do.
Okay.
Mrs. Barclay, is there any more business before this committee?
No, sir.
Can I just say one
Yes.
thing, Council? To the Housing Department and the staff on this whole issue of the foreclosures, it is very important to this committee. It's unfortunate we ran out of time, but the fact is, I myself, as a member, I will read your report. I do know there's issues of what happens to rental properties and foreclosures and impacts of families. The maps might not reflect what's really happening, but there's an explanation for it, I'm sure, because of the way properties are being moved about and who's actually has control of these properties. So that, in effect, will hopefully give us some clarity as to what these maps really mean. But I want to thank you for your hard work.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes, and I think I must have moved too quickly and didn't afford you the opportunity to say that right after the presentation. I apologize for that. There's no more business before this committee. This committee is adjourned. Thank you. Well,